Henry Jones was roused from his thoughts by the voice of a young girl yelling out. He looked up and saw the ship dropping anchor. Along the rail his youngest daughter Julia was waving her arms and yelling. Several hours later, the two of them sat on a large rock along the shore of Lake Huron, watching the sunset as he listened to his daughter tell about her trip. Such an adventure, Father. The steamboat we sailed in was much smaller than the one we crossed the ocean on, but it was way more fun. It seems like it was so long ago, but it has been just 4 days since we sailed from Detroit. We stayed last night with the LaForge family in a small log cabin. Real crowded, you know. There were already 10 people living there. Mr. LaForge, his wife, and 8 children, one of them an Indian. Add to that Alexander Hamilton, Mother, Aunt Susan, and the 3 of us girls, and it was a full house. It's a good thing Alexander knew some French, or we wouldn't be able to even talk to them. Mother didn't know what to do or even what to talk about. Then a most splendid-looking Indian man and his woman came calling on the LaForges. He said that he knew you. His name is Wawinosh. He said the lake near here is named after him. His wife's name is McConko. Oh, Father, I was quite impressed with both of them, especially his wife. You know that she is a queen, and he even brought her daughter with her, the baby princess. You should have seen her, Father. She told us all about herself, but it took so long. First, Queen McConko said she had to make signs with her hands to Mr. LaForge. Then he had to tell Alexander in French. Then Alexander had to change everything to English before we understood what was said. It was so different talking to people like that, but real fun. She told us that her hat was made out of the fur of a black beaver. There were strands of real silver adorning it. Round her neck and hanging from her ears were hundreds of shiny silver and glass beads. And she wore a big cloak-type dress of the brightest red cloth I have ever seen, covered entirely with row after row of more silver and glass beads. But the strangest thing was the little princess. How I pitied her, laid out flat on a piece of board that looked to me like a shallow box with 2 sides taken away. The poor little thing was lying in this box with pieces of the same red cloth wrapped around and round her as tightly as possible. The little princess looked to be quite fat, and the day was so hot, but she just lay there quietly, not able to move her hands, mosquitoes flying all around in such numbers that I wonder how the little thing kept alive. To me, she looked like pictures of those mummies from the olden days in Egypt. But Mother seemed to be quite pleased. She remarked that it was quite nice to be able to sit and have tea with a real queen. The most fun part was when it came time to sleep. Mother was astounded when told that there were no beds for any of us. Sleep in the hall is what Alexander translated when Mr. LaForge laid blankets on the floor for us. When Mother insisted that this was not acceptable, Mr. LaForge told Alexander that he and his wife slept in the only bed available in the house, while all of their children slept on the floor at the end of their bed. Mother and Aunt Susan were so horrified, but after the lantern was extinguished, the last thing I heard was Aunt Susan saying to Mother, "I will just loosen my things and lie down, and hope that none of the cats will lay on my face." Mother replied, "I am so astonished about these sleeping arrangements. I am unable to imagine what any of our relatives or friends might say if they could only see us now." It was not long after that before I fell to sleep, and slept soundly all through the night. Aunt Susan did tell me this morning that a party of drunken Indians had tried to come in through the door last night, but Mr. LaForge stopped them and bolted the doors to make sure no one else would try to come in. After a breakfast of eggs and pancakes, Alexander Hamilton thanked the LaForges for putting us up overnight, and we walked up to the point past the rapids to board the boat that brought us the rest of the way here. Now, Father, tell me more about my new home here in the Toon of Maxwell.